And continuing with the economy, South Korea set a new record for exports in September, despite uncertainties surrounding U.S. tariffs. For more on this and the domestic economy, we're joined today by Professor Shin Se-don from the Division of Business Economics at Sookmyung Women's University. Professor Shin, thanks for joining us this morning.
Good morning. My pleasure.
So the record high exports in September were largely driven by semiconductors and automobiles. Does this mean tariffs have had only limited impact for now?
Well, the total export in the month of September grew 12.7%, and it was 1.2% last month in August. In July, it was 5.7%. So compared to the figure in July and August, 12.7% is really a big surprise. But you have to remember that Korean kind of culture, it is always the Chuseok effect. You know, last year Chuseok was in September, so the export in September, it was very low because of the long Chuseok holidays. So 12.7% increase in the month of September this year. One reason is because of the base effect we call in last year's Chuseok, which was in September. Another thing is that this year Chuseok is in early October. So in the month of September, most of the exporters are shipping their export products prior to October. So there are two cumulative effects. One is the base effect of the last year's September Chuseok, and second one is this year Chuseok is in October, that most of the companies have already shipped export goods in September. That's, I think, why the export has grown very big number in September. So we might expect that in the month of October, next month, I think the growth of export was substantially lower than month in September.
I see. I guess we'll have to keep a close eye on the figure next month. And despite the government's cash handouts, retail sales fell in August. Do you think the second round of cash handouts will help boost spending?
Well, yeah, it was also a surprise, because the consumption sales in the month of August grew negative 0.5%, and that was 2.4% in July. The government has been distributing 12 trillion won's worth of consumption expenditure coupons to the people, and everybody expected that in the month of August, the consumption sales will boost up. But on the contrary, the real fact was that it was negative 0.5%. And most of the expenditure is expected to spend on a convenience store, but convenience store sales also fell negative 2.9% in the month of August, and it was 0.6% in July. So it was a kind of a puzzle, and one of the explanations that I found was that most of the expenditure was spent on the semi-durable consumption goods like sneakers, eyeglasses, clothing, which has grown 2.2%. So the effect of consumption expenditure, consumption the government expenditure, I think, is mainly focused on consumption of semi-durable consumption goods, and otherwise in other areas, I think there is so far a negligible effect on increase in consumption.
I see. And like you mentioned, the long Chuseok holiday begins tomorrow here in South Korea. And it also coincides with China's so-called Golden Week, their week-long national holiday. And just before this peak travel season in China, the Korean government has allowed Chinese visitors to travel to Korea without a visa, seeking to attract more Chinese tourists. How effective will this be in significantly boosting Korea's tourism industry?
I'd like to mention two things. First, there has been significant change in the attitude of Chinese tourists. In the past, Chinese are coming to Korea to buy some luxury commodities and very kind of expensive commodities, mostly cosmetics to spend in Korea. But now they changed because most of the Chinese producers are able to compete with Korean kind of competitors. So they are, instead of spending in Korea, they rather enjoy sightseeing in Korea. So the consumption pattern of Chinese people have changed dramatically. And another thing is that Chinese economy has not been pretty good for the last, I think, 3 or 4 years. So it is, I think, premature to expect, huge number of Chinese tourists in Korea will boost up Korean consumption or Korean, sales. So I might expect that there will be a marginal positive effect of Chinese, tourists in Korea.
I see. I guess we'll have to see how that turns out. And also, Professor Shin, before I let you go, gold prices have been surging to record highs, amid global uncertainties following the U.S. government shutdown. What's really driving this trend, and do you expect it to continue?
Well, I think there are two reasons for the surge in the gold price. One is the United States is economically and politically rather shaky in the sense that there's the partial shutdown of the federal governments. And that kind of confrontations between the two parties will have a negative kind of reputation effect upon United States. And also there's a confusion about future direction of interest rates. So economic and political kind of a frustration on the part of global people. They rather put their money in safe haven like gold rather than dollars. So as long as United States is shaky in economic and political terms, people will switch from U.S. dollar to, I think, gold. And that, I think, would increase the price of gold even further, almost to 4,000 an ounce in a few months.
I see. All right, Professor Shin, I'm afraid that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for your insight, as always.
Thank you.